to begin, the first thing I'm going to do is get my cutting, complete my cutting. See how I have a little bit of a border on the insert? I'm going to show you how I achieved that. I take a piece of copy paper and off of the length and off of the width, I'm going to remove a 1/2 inch. So a 1/2 inch on that side and then a 1/2 inch on the other side. So now what I've done is I have a piece of paper that is 10.5 inches by 8 inches instead of 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to take my 10.5 inch wide piece of paper. Half of 10.5 is 5 1/4. I'm going to trim it. And now I have 2 inserts for my card. Then I'm going to take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock of your choice. I've chosen red. I usually do blue, and I'm doing red this year. So 11 inches, again, we're going to cut at 5 1/2. And then for the front piece that I embossed, I just took a piece of cardstock and I cut out a 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece. 5 1/4, 5 1/4 by 4 inch. Okay, now we can put our cutting board away. Then I'm going to use my scoring board. And incidentally, when you use your copy paper, you can always type something on the computer, print it, and if you don't have the stamp, or type your, some people write letters for the holidays. So I like to score my inserts, and I like to score the card. So this is 8 inches, so I'm going to score at 4. It gives you a nice clean line. It's nice and straight. So again, we're going to score at 4 inches. Do you see the lines that I have on my scoring board? Sometimes when I'm going pretty quick, I end up scoring and I jump. So I have found the lines aid in making sure that when I start, I'm still in the same place that I need to be. So this is 8 1/2 wide, so we're going to go to 4 1/4. 4 1/4 and 4 1/4 is 8 1/2. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do it on the other side. I'm using a really hard heavy pound cardstock, and it just gives me that crisp clean. And there's the insert. So of course, going to make 2 cards. It's just as easy to make 2 as it is 1. So again, we're going to score at 4 1/4. And I just marked it at places that I have my 4 1/4 because I use that one quite frequently. And just a little tip there for you. Okay, so now I have my cardstock, the outer portion of the card. Just going to stamp these, give these a little burnish so that they're a little bit crisper. Now to start on the front portion of the card. So I embossed and I used a Sizzix embossing folder. I actually don't know the name of this one. Let's see if I can bring it a little. You could use any embossing folder that you liked. One that at least allowed for a bare space there where you could place a greeting, unless you wanted to do it over the top. Okay, so I ran that through the embossing folder. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to burnish the edge. And there's several of these available on the market. The one that I'm using is a Stampin' Up! Tim Holtz also actually has a nice one as well. I actually had his and I have misplaced it. But all you do is you go along the cardstock. So now that I have my edges burnished, see, it just gives it a little bit of a roughed up. And again, that's just a wheel with a blade in there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place my tree branches. And I'm going to use a stamp that is by Rubber Outlines, rubber stamp. And notice I have a number on the end of the stamp, and that lets me know where the stamp goes. And for the color, I'm going to use Mellow Moss by Stampin' Up. I just wanted something a little bit paler so that it was like a little bit of a shadow effect. I always stamp one time just to remind myself if the stamp has any imperfections and to see how juicy my pad is. So I'm going to place that on the edge of my cardstock. And it's okay if it's not all the way on there, or if you want it just on the edge. I want it a little bit here peeking through. And I think I want another little piece right here. Okay. And then to do the snowflakes. I wanted to have some snowflakes on the outer edge of the card, but I didn't want them to overtake the snowflake that I embossed with. So I'm using Going Gray by Stampin' Up. It's just a gray color. And the stamp I am using it's not marked. But I can tell you by the sticker, it's a Pat Catan's. So I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp, and then stamp off, stamp. That one I didn't stamp off, and this one I'll stamp off and do it again. And I think I'll put one right here. So I didn't use the whole stamp, I just used pieces of it and went off of the card. Okay, now to put the greeting. And for the greeting, I needed a smaller one because of my space being a little fairly small in there that I've left myself. So using my catalog, I looked through, and what do you know, I found this little Merry Christmas, and it's from the set of The Stamps of Life by Stephanie Bernard. And I'm going to use a red. I was having a difficult time finding a red that matched, and this is a close to my heart. And I take a piece of tape and I put the color on it so that as it sits on the shelf, I have a true visual of what that color is. And I know that they have changed their pads and they don't look like this. This one is fairly old, but as you can tell, it's still juicy. And I'm just going to place my sentiment on top. I like to hold it just for a few moments. It gives that ink an opportunity to really be absorbed into the paper. None of this rocking. Excuse me. So now the front of the card is completed, but now I need to add my glitter. There's two ways you can go about this. You can do the front with the glitter and place them all over the table to dry. You can prop them in a slinky. I've done that. Or you can go ahead and pre-attach it to the card and then prop the card up as it dries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and excuse me, and I'm going to attach this to I forgot to do one thing. I have to put a little bit of distressing ink on the edge of the card. So I'm using Tim Holtz's Distress Ink. The color I'm using is a peeled paint. And I'm just going to rub the edges of the burnishing, which is going to really just intensify it. Fluff up the edges that you've ruffled up with the ink. And let's see if I can get it to be, it just gives it that furry edge. Okay, so now I can go ahead and attach this to the front of the card, and then I will do the glitter work, and then the card can sit propped up to dry. I'm just using some tape that I actually got out of the dollar bin out from Joann Fabrics. I'm pretty excited. This whole big roll of tape, it comes in all different sizes, was, I believe it was $1. So that's what I'm using today, folks. And I just like to roll it with my brayer just to really secure it and make sure that it is well attached and adhered. So it's beginning to look like Christmas. Okay, now let's stamp the back so that we don't forget about that. I always stamp the back of my cards. It's a trademark for me. I always put a Bible verse. But this time I thought, since I have snowflakes on the front, it would be really sweet. Snowflakes are beautiful, pure, and white. And like God's children, no two are alike. And this is a, I don't know who this stamp is by. Oh, sorry, My Sentiments Exactly. And I used a black ink. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply the glitter and prop the card up to dry. I'm going to be using Stickles. I was looking for something that had a little bit of silver in it for the snowflakes. And I just spread it in the middle, and then I try and outline a little bit. And I'm getting towards the end, so it gets a little globby. So I'm going to use my paintbrush. And I just want to help the snowflake, the embossing areas, pop a little bit. Let's see if you can just make them glisten. Here's one that doesn't have anything on it. I tell you, the camera just doesn't do this justice. I'm just going to spread this around. You don't have to be real neat. But what would Christmas be without a little bit of glitter? And then I was just wanting a little bit more silver. So I took my brush. See, I squirted a little bit on my mat. And I just kind of got in there and plopped it around in a few places just to bring to your attention that there is a little added something there. Okay, now I'm going to prop this up to dry. Now to do the insert. And again, that was Stickles. This one is the frosted lace. It's really pretty. And then a silver Stickles. And those are by Ranger. Now for the insert. So I wanted to have some snowflakes. I wanted to continue the theme. So again, I'm going to get back into the gray. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp around some of the snowflakes. This is the insert that's going to go on the inside. And you don't have to use the whole stamp. If you want to, you can. It sometimes makes things really interesting when you only catch bits and pieces of a stamp. Okay. That was gray and some snowflakes. And for the sentiment, I have chosen a stamp that is by Inside and Outie. It actually has one that goes on the inside and one that goes on the outside. I only wanted the salutation that says, wishing you the blessings of his love this Christmas and in the new year. And I wanted to leave this off. So I went ahead and pulled it off, and I will replace it with a little bit of cement glue, but actually I may just go ahead and put that onto another block. It made it a little difficult to stamp it because it sat too close to the other side. So again, I'm going to use the red. There has been quite a bit of discussion about people removing their stamps from the wood blocks and placing them on the clear acrylics. I just love a wood stamp. I suppose if space is an issue, this might be a motivating factor. Okay, I place that in the center of the bottom half. And now I'm going to place, I wanted something at the top. And I'm going to place, this is a Stampin' Up. And this is from the set Christ is Born. This is one of the benefits of when you stamp off. I realized that I really need to ink this up if I want a crisp clear. So I got it inked up. Again, no rocking, just hold it in place and hold it firmly. And I just give it a few seconds. Okay, there's the insert. The card's over here drying. So I like to take a little piece of adhesive and place it on the top portion of the card. This holds it in place so that you can read it. I find that doing the top and the bottom can cause you some problems. As long as you do one, it's okay. I'm placing it inside, staying out of my glitter. And there's our card. I'm going to place it over here to dry. Now for the envelope. So I'm going to take, I like to embellish for two reasons. I like to give the person that's delivering it a surprise. I think that on the outside, anytime you can put a little something extra that, and this one it says, Jesus is the reason for the season. I always like to go to the post office and see what stamps they have available, and I've chosen the Nativity. I was hoping we'd get a snowflake. And then on the back, on the flap, I wanted to place some more of the snowflakes, but I'm going to go ahead and put my tree branch first. Let's see. Oh. And again, some more snowflakes. And when I make several cards, I would just take my envelopes and I would do each of these as I showed you in the video, I would do it 20 times or 30 times. It goes pretty quick, and that was a deciding factor when I decided on what I was going to do for this card. I wanted something that wasn't too complex. And there you have it, my Christmas card. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would, give me a thumbs up, or better yet, subscribe if you haven't. And may all of you have a blessed Christmas. Merry Christmas.